Power. Oh,
Good evening, Keeps Up the Cash. Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy here, and joined as always on Tuesday night, I have Rob Spat Stacks of Comics in the co-host seat.
hola.
How you doing tonight, Rob?
Bien, ¿y tú?
I am very well as well, sir.
Para
And
información en inglés, marque uno.
I'm better with the French. And a special
Merci.
co-host tonight, we have Stephanie Madam in the house as Psylocke. Good evening, Stephanie. How are you?
Are you sure it's not Psylocke as Stephanie?
Look, I can cut Mark's head off like this. Whoosh. Look, I'm beheading you, Mark.
See, it started already.
It's already getting brutal, Mark.
Wow.
And in the seat of honor this evening, we have Mark Andrews. Good evening, Mark. How are you, sir?
I am well. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for not being a decapitated head.
Yeah, that. Just keep her over there. That's good over there.
Mark, I learned a bit ago after knowing Stephanie that she needs a timeout corner.
Yeah.
So we have a special timeout corner for Steph.
Wow.
Now, Mark, without further ado, first of all, before we get going with the books, first we're going to let you introduce yourself, tell the people a little bit, give them the 1 minute pitch on Mark Andrews, and then we'll say hi to the crowd, and then we'll get back to you and your books.
Okay, that's way too much time that I need. So I've been collecting books since I can remember, and as you can see, kind of peeking around me, I collect a lot of other stuff. I live in just outside of North Bay, Ontario, Canada, and yes, it snowed just a little bit today. I collect. I've been collecting books since I can remember. And comic books have been around my house and around me for about as long as I can remember. And being the youngest of 5 kids, as my older siblings all moved out of the house, mysteriously they left their stuff behind, and my mother didn't throw it out. And that's where some of the basis of my collection started from. And I did the paper route thing and would buy a comic every once in a while with that money, and I just fell in love with the stories and the characters and the artists and the covers and the history behind them, and it's still with me. Like, there's been life gets in the way sometimes, and I've not been as active as I have been, but I've been retired now for 7 years, and I've really gotten back into it. Don't wish your life away, Rob. It's like retirement is awesome, but anyway, it's just. It's one of my passions of amongst many other things, but it's just, this has been one of the toughest things that I've had to do in a long time, is just to isolate 10 books. Because
so it was not an easy task for you.
No, it wasn't. Like, I've had a stack of 10 books that I don't know if there's any of the original books in my first stack of 10 still. I think there is a couple, but oh no, wait, this would be a better one, and this would make more sense anyway.
Well, we'll apologize ahead of time for making you tear your collection apart.
So, what would you guesstimate your total collection is?
It's not a huge collection. I think I probably got about maybe 24,000 books.
Not a huge collection. Okay, good. Just 24,000 books. So yeah, picking 10, which would be a very small, less than 1%, would be very difficult.
It is, and it's
15-20 minutes. You should have had it done.
I know, and it's a very eclectic collection, Rob. It's like as well,
as we all do over 2 years.
And that's the thing, though. Like, as a reader, right? There just ends up being so much that you like as a reader. Yeah. So many different genres, so many different writers. Just over the years, your eye catches different things, and you're just drawn to it.
And different characters, and you go, well, I haven't seen that character like that before. What did they do with it? Right. That kind of stuff. So it's if
Huge
don't know.
tracts of land.
Yeah.
And the really irritating thing is it's actually organized. So, I have, and I'm old school. I've got the spreadsheets. I've never gone online with my books to organize them. I've got them organized by, like publisher and like series and some I've got organized by artist and but I can go. They're going to be in that bin.
Right. You know where all your stuff is. It's amazing how your mind can collect it, though, right?
Oh yeah, it is.
See, I always love it's always easy when you get that for the main stuff you do, but when you always get up those onesie twosie books here and there,
Yep.
those are always the pain in the butt to figure out how you're going to file those
Where
and remember them.
And I was talking with Matt Woods about a Conan book that I know that I had, and do you think I could find where I put it? And I mean, I've got anyway. I knew I had it, and when I finally located it, I had pulled it out to read and hadn't properly put it back. But
you see, that's one thing I do know. I know where all my Conans are. All my Conans, all my Red Sonjas, all my Seldom and Canes, all my Call the Conquerors.
He also knows where all his venom is.
Yeah, in the garbage.
Well, yeah, See, Gary, anyway. You'll figure it out as I start to talk about the 10 I pulled so far.
Well, we'll say hi to the crowd real quick, and then we'll start you off on book one. So first in, as always, Stephanie, you want to say it?
What?
Who's first?
Las Cruces!
Yep. Then we have
Las
Psychedelic
Cruces!
Comics in. Good evening, sir. Madam saying hello. We have Chuck Hennessy here. I'm sorry, Hensey. Sorry, Chuck. Didn't mean to mispronounce your last name.
You were just thinking of drinking already, huh?
Right. We have Tina here. Nice to see you, Tina. Thank you for coming in and made Tina a moderator tonight. Yay. And we have Couchin' and Slouchin'. Nice to see you, sir. Couchin' and Slouchin' is going to be in the hot seat with the usual suspects this Thursday. Nicholas, hashtag never enough Nicks. How you doing tonight, Nicholas? One of my favorite people ever, Jerry the Jitterbug. How you doing, Jerry? Steve White, nice to see you, sir.
Hey, Steve.
All right, and action figure comedy. So Dave Bratton, nice to see you, sir. And another great person in our community, Caroline's here. How you doing, Caroline? Nice to see you. Doug Bratton's here. Both brothers in.
Oh.
Thank you for joining tonight, gents. We have DVH, Dr. Von Hoots here. Good evening, DVH. Nice to see you, buddy. And we are going down the road here. We have Whack Comics in. How you doing, Lee? Bulldog, or Budlog, sorry. No, Bulldog. All right, Bulldog 01. See, the eyes are going. I'm getting old. And let's see. The Jackson Roy Kirk. All right, we're in for some great comments tonight, Steph.
I know, really.
Another fellow Canadian, Jean Malot. How you doing, Jean? And I think we are almost caught up on the chat. Izzy is here. Good evening, Izzy. Nice of you to join. Thank you, sir. Tony's here from Comiverse. Nice to see you, Tony. Thank you for coming in. And I think that
Scotty
Mark
Vaughn's here. Scott Vaughn's here. Scott Vaughn's here. Did we always say hi to him?
Oh, I haven't come across it. Scott, how you doing, sir? And Brother Joe's here. Nice to see you, Brother Joe. So Scotty and Brother Joe, thank you guys for joining us. Another one of my favorite people, Ignacio. How you doing, Ignacio? Nice to see you, sir.
It's a great name.
One of the smartest people you will talk to is Ignacio, in my opinion.
Cool.
And you can't talk to Ignacio and not instantly love him. It's impossible. There's Scotty Vaughn right there. Good evening, sir.
Woo.
All right, and I think we are caught up. So, Mark, without further ado, sir, let's start out with your first book.
Okay. This is going to be, like, as I said, I collect characters, I collect artists, I collect stuff that's eclectic. I've kind of gone through a history of some of my collection. And this first book is, the one book you want me to tell a story about. Well, I will tell a story about it for sure, but I kind of am going to tell a little story about each of these books. So this book is from 1946. And my dad, who's long passed away, he talked to me a lot about some of his favorite comic strips and some of those favorite characters and stuff when he would go. And this was one of his favorites, Terry and the Pirates.
Oh,
So Terry and the Pirates, this book, I'm not sure where or when this book came into my house. If I don't think it was one of my dad's, but I don't know. Anyway, it's mine now, and I inherited it. So these are like, it's a 4-color comic. Milton Caniff did the script on it. The artwork is it's really unfortunate. Some of the artwork for some of these older books, you really have a hard time figuring out who did the art.
Right. Yeah.
And they disappeared. But I mean,
just in-house.
Yeah, in-house, and they were under timelines, and they had to like hammer stuff. And is this like, this isn't a huge expensive book, but it means a lot to me because of the history of it.
Oh, yeah.
I know that my dad thumbed through this and read it. And it brought back some great memories for him, and it does for me. I mean, the evildoer in the Terry and the Pirates, her name was Dragon Lady, and Steph, you would love to do her in cosplay.
Oh, wow.
she was an interesting character. Anyway, so like this strip lasted till 1973, and it started in the 40s. So that gives you an idea of what the lasting of Terry and the Pirates.
And that's a nice dynamic cover on there too.
Oh, yeah, and they had great covers. They got great color. You know, it's a lot of cool history, and it's one of those books that it means a lot to me.
So is that one of those collections of stories that were originally told in strip form, or is that original? Okay.
Well, but they expand them as the I think he's talking about you, Rob.
We'll both take it. Let's go.
Or Gary at this point, really.
There you go. Scott's another golden collector. He says March of 46, issue 101.
Yeah, it's just an awesome book, and some of them were retelling of the strips and the compilation, and others are brand new, unique original stories. Right. Because eventually the Dragon Lady became kind of an ally, but not really. I think she had ulterior motives. So
she wanted to get the lucky
charm.
So
the Dragon Lady also needed a timeout corner like somebody else we know.
Apparently, yes.
Can you stop now?
Well, and she was she was the leader of the pirates. So, her and Belit.
Nice. Well, that's a great beginner. 1946. You can't go wrong with that.
No. So my next one is one of those artists that I actually really got quite interested in him. This is one of his biographies on Matt Baker, and I really kind of got dialed into more about him in this book. If anyone's interested in the history, The Invisible Men, an awesome reference book for Black artists of the comic book industry that were not given the credit they should have, and had to work in behind the scenes and all those kind of things that went on. Great reference material. So this next book is again, it's originally it was published in December 1946. Not a lot of people know Matt Baker did the covers for some of these books. He's really well known for his Phantom Lady books, and of course they were in Seduction of the Innocent, because of, again, Stephanie, that would be another interesting cosplay for you, is Phantom Lady. Anyway,
I should start writing this
down. Matt Baker did some amazing work. He's done like covers for Lassie, and he's done covers for all kinds of books we would never even think of. But he actually did do a classic illustrated. He did Lorna Doone.
Oh, that book I've seen.
Yep. Well, when you look at
this is still number 2, right, Mark?
Yep, number 32. Okay. This is the second edition. There is a first edition. My first edition isn't quite as pretty as this one is, The colors don't pop quite as nice. It's a little bit older. This is the 51 edition. So HRN 485 for those that collect classics. But when you look at her and the faces and the figures, you go, yeah, that's Matt Baker every day. Just the detail and the way he drew them. He could do amazing artwork, and I just really, really like collecting his stuff.
That too, and wasn't
I
Classic
like the art.
Illustrated one of the first series that had multiple covers?
Yeah. There's like classic. I have the entire run of Classic Illustrated, but I don't have all of the different editions because some of them there's scads and scads of editions.
Yeah, they'll reprint them like every 10 years almost.
Yeah, some of them. Like the ones that didn't get a lot is for some strange reason, like Great Expectations only has 2 editions.
Huh.
And if you ever are out shopping and happen to come across one, grab it, because if you look on the different websites on resale and stuff, you're looking to pay some money for it. There's not that many classic.
It's weird. You think with it being Charles Dixon that it'd be more prominent.
And it wasn't. And I don't know why. Like another one is Alice in Wonderland. There's not a lot of editions, but they're just great stories. They're great collections, and some of the artists on those books are phenomenal, and the artwork and stuff.
Yeah, I have a couple that I just love. They're just amazing.
Yeah, and they're the ones that like I go and I've got some readers of some. Like I've got I don't read my Great Expectations because it was loved really really well.
It was read many times.
It was read many times, and so I just admire it. But some of the stories, the artwork is phenomenal. Like there's some of the covers, the painted covers are just.
Yeah, I have the first edition Frankenstein, and just absolutely love that cover.
Yeah, that cover
is War of the Worlds is another one that's
great. War of the Worlds. Some like Dr. Jekyll and Sherlock, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is another one that's just the artwork. So now you know, Rob, why I was having a hard time of which one, because there's so many.
You gotta pick. I had the same problem when I came on Gary's channel.
It's just like, what do you pick? So moving along.
Oh, Matt Woods is saying Great Expectations was a letdown.
I think he read the wrong book.
Don't let Matt Woods start any junk in the chat. Tina, you got the wrench, Tina. Keep Matt Woods in line. All right, book 3, Mark.
Book 3.
Matt Woods gets too uppity.
Yeah. Book 3. One of the things I do like is I like old horror, but I'm not a big like the shock horror, like the guy holding the head and the axe and all that stuff. And
you like good story horror.
I like good storyline, and I like the old classic horror. And Dell they knocked it out of the park when they started out with this stuff. And there we go. Okay, I will remember that. And this comes from, I think, it came from a really good year in 1962. It was a good year, I think. So this is my other.
There you go.
Yeah. This is, this is classic horror, and this is.
Isn't that Dracula's first appearance in comics too?
Well, yeah, that's definitely Bela Lugosi, and it isn't any other Dracula. But what's really interesting about this, Gary, is this is not Bram Stoker's story. This is a kind of it's Dracula shows up in it at the end of the book almost.
Oh wow!
And it's setting up for more stories to do with the characters involved in this story. And in the interior, Dracula is Bela Lugosi. Like there's just
Gary, it would have seemed that the first appearance of Dracula would be Comic Capers #1 from July 1944.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Now, I think where we get into whether this is the first appearance of Dracula drawn like Bela Lugosi, I don't know for sure, because there's lots of speculation about that. But if you're looking for
jealous of that book.
If you're looking for a classic Dracula vampire story, great art, great storytelling, it's a really good story.
Kid Eternity issue 4 from 1946 is credited as the first appearance of Bram Stoker's version of Dracula in comics.
Cool.
True, Scott. And also though, have you ever read the original Bram Stoker's? It's a bit dry.
Oh yeah, it's dry as paint.
It's a task. It's not an easy read like you would imagine.
Well, yeah, I've read it. I've watched the original movie, and it was pretty entertaining because I watched the original movie with my two sons, and I said wait for the credits because we'd finished the movie. It was great, and I said no, wait for the credits. I was like, bink, 4 guys, that was it. And I said, wow, get to the credits today. Because no one got credit for anything. Anyway, so that series, for anyone who's interested, the Dell horror series, they've got The Mummy, Frankenstein, The Wolfman, it goes on and on. The Creature from
I was always a werewolf guy.
They're
that Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Yep. They're great books. They got great covers. They're awesome books. So what number?
Tina saying she loves the original Dracula story.
Yes, yeah. It's a good there's so many really good vampire stories. Like right now, Little Monsters by Jeff Lemire. If anyone's reading that, it is an awesome vampire story. I highly recommend it. It's a great story. It's well drawn. It's got good. It's just I'm really enjoying it. So I do read
too because they can make them so cliche. It takes a really good writer to put something interesting on it. Yep.
So I'm moving along now. We're into 1966.
All right. So number 4.
James Bama and Jack Sparling did the artwork on this. This character I have loved forever. I read him in paperback form. I've got his more modern books that came out. Alex Ross did some amazing artwork on this character, and this is Doc Savage #1.
Man of Bronze.
I love Doc Savage. That's a character I wish they would bring back so bad.
Yep. Yeah.
And not with Dynamite, who just ruins characters.
Well, and it was Dynamite that brought him back, and Alex Ross did a lot of the artwork. The story was not the greatest by any means, but if they would just bring him back, like they mimicked him with Buckaroo Banzai and the Cavaliers. That there's been so many copycats of this character that he's just one of those great guys. This Gold Key, they only again, there is no issue 2. There's just issue 1 of this, sadly. But
and then he did time at Marvel, time at DC.
Yep. Yeah.
Oddly enough, he did it in the Bronze Age at Marvel.
Yeah.
What a guy.
And those aren't bad books. I've got those ones too, Rob. But I like that, it's his first one in comic book.
I got to ask you, Mark, are you a King Kong fan at all?
Am I a King Kong fan?
Yes. Because I'm a huge Kong fan. So they did some modern. Okay. I love that. I love that cover too. Like that poster when I was a kid. I saw that movie in the theater, Mark.
Yep.
So there is a great novel out there because there was this group that started publishing Doc Savage books again in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And he visits Skull Island and interacts with Kong. It was a fun, fantastic read.
Well, you have to let me know about whose it was and where I can find it.
I will. Let me make a note. Because I'm a big Doc Savage fan. Yeah. He's just one of those time lost characters, which was him and his whole team.
Yep, his whole team, like Ham and Long Tom and all those guys. And, they were just so eclectic. They were...
I even loved the cheesy TV movie they had. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
With the green paper stakes and everything?
Yeah, yeah. That was former Tarzan. Who was the actor? I can't think of his name right now, but yeah, the just awesome. Anyway, we're at number 5 now.
Yes, number 5. Sorry, we're going down the memory lane of Doc Savage.
Yep. that's a great hole to go down because it's just Doc Savage is very cool.
Jackson Roy Kirk has it.
Yep,
Ron Eli.
Ron Eli. Thank you. He was in the movie, and he should have just stuck to Swinging on Vines. Anyway, my next book, we've moved up all the way to 1968. Okay, so I'm progressing, kind of. When I would get my hair cut at my grandparents' house, they had actually a barber chair in the basement, and they had and of course my dad would cut our hair, and he just went and we had buzz cuts for many years until my mom finally dropped her foot and said no more.
I offer to cut my kids' hair all the time.
Yeah, I have offered,
I told them
and
I
they
have
said no.
daily experience, but they
Yeah,
never
it
take
is.
up on it.
Was
It's
it more of a punishment, Rob, or was that more of a a kind of thing?
character
Not to
building.
me.
But in there was always a box of comics at my grandmother's, and also we would go to one of our friends of ours. We shared a cottage with them on Lake Huron, and there was always a milk crate full of comics there. And there was some amazing gold keys in there, and some old DC, but like the Munsters and all kinds of great gold keys. But there was one series that was kind of in both of those boxes, the haircut box and the vacation box. And when it was raining when you couldn't go out because it was raining on the shores of Lake Huron, and you were huddled in the cottage and you're on the bunk beds and the fire was going, you'd grab the box of books. And this is one of the ones that I used to read.
Yes.
Oh, Magnus Robot Fighter.
I think Rob's happy. This, and they've tried to bring him back a few times. He hasn't aged as well as I wish he would have, but this is Vic Prezzo did the art, and he just did. I mean, these covers were amazing.
Yes,
and the stories were great, and how could you not like these stories?
So, some of them were great wrapper or had pinup covers on the back. So
these
had the Virgin variant on the back on some of them.
Yeah, like these ones all had. I think this one does, Rob. If you're,
I think it's like the first.
Nope, this one isn't. I've got
about half of the first six.
Yeah,
or
the first
eight,
half or six have the full covered, like a lot of the gold keys. The pinup of the cover on the back that you could hang up. But just one of those books that just when I see it and I read it, it takes me back, and I have great memories, and it's just a great character. And I mean, who can't spend their day punching out a robot? I mean, we all want to do it.
It was so funny because I was just talking about this character the other day. 'Cause we're talking. Of course, I always love his look that he in the classic look here.
Yeah,
I had a commission done of the classic Magnus fighting. I forget. I think it was one of Transformers. Anyway, so a mashup. But I'm thinking we get another one done, except it's Zap Brannigan, because Zap Brannigan looks exactly like that. He's got the white boots with that short tunic and everything else.
When you see Zap Brannigan,
and I put it on a Magnus Robot Fighter blank, because
when I first saw Zap Brannigan, I went, "That's Magnus Robot Fighter. That's not okay. That's okay." Like, anyway,
I am not familiar with Zach Brannigan. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Oh, he's a character on Futurama. Matt Groening's.
Okay. Then I probably do know, and I forgot.
Yeah, he might be channeling a little bit of William Shatner.
Over exaggerated, Captain Kirk, except that he's really a coward. And in Formula Ben, I've made it with a woman this time.
So we're moving on now. We're up into 1970.
All right, number 6.
And I talked about the different artists I love, and there's an artist, and I talked about this artist's first work in comic books, which I have a copy of over there. But this isn't that book because I was waving that book around when I was on Joe's show. Neil Adams, I have loved his work. When I had the opportunity to talk with him, he would come to Fan Expo in Toronto almost every year, and he was just amazing and gracious with the fans, and would sign your stuff. And if there wasn't a line, you could stand there and shoot the breeze with him. as long as you wanted to. Just a great guy. And I've got example after example of his work. This is one from November 30th, 1970. It's a Denny O'Neil story, Batman 227.
Oh, classic.
Oh.
So
one of the most famous covers ever.
Yep, the Demon of Gothos Mansion. It's an iconic cover. It's a recreation of the. I'm trying to think of the Batman. Anyway,
Detective Comics.
Yeah, Detective Comics 31. Is it, Rob?
Something like that. I don't remember off the top of my
Yeah,
head. I'm not
it is one of those covers that just, it's just an awesome cover. It's Neil Adams all day.
It's an homage that maybe surpasses the original.
I think it has, but you see copies of it everywhere, or it's just one of those. And there's remakes of it and stuff, but I really, really like Neil Adams.
Yeah, Matt Woods is confirming Tech 31.
Yeah, just awesome, awesome. How we doing?
Doing good.
I can't believe that Madam hasn't slammed me over something yet.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Oh, good. Okay.
He's lying in wait this spring.
I am.
Oh, I know.
Waiting for you to get to the modern comics.
Well, maybe.
It's all right. We don't need to ever get there.
We may not get anyway. So this next one is 1970. In 1966, a TV show came on that changed the world, and it only lasted 3 seasons. And there's iterations of it still out there. My dad did not want. He encouraged us to watch this TV show. He wanted us to watch it because of what it represented to him, and what it represented to us, and where we were going to be going. We hoped, and I hope we get there. But anyway, this isn't number 1 issue, but this is number 8, and I love this issue because it has the entire cast on the front. Like, it has all the main characters on the front cover. This is the only issue that has all 8 characters on the picture.
Wow.
And yeah, so this is the only one. I mean, Nurse Chapel, Scotty, Doc McCoy, Spock, they're all there. Chekhov, Sulu, Uhura.
Could you imagine having this book back in the day and be able to go to the cons before everything was ridiculous and these guys were all still alive and get all to sign this book?
All to sign that. I would have loved that. Like, I do have Leonard Nimoy's signature. I have Shatner's signature. I have Uhura's signature. I wish I could have got some of the others.
Right. Yeah.
But to be able to have some discussion with them, it's just, and it was one of those really cool shows that I really loved. And I just finished watching Picard with my oldest son, the last episode last night, or the night before last, on the weekend, and it's just a very cool story, and it's one of those that really, it means a lot when I look at it, and it's got such history, because I remember as a kid sitting in a cottage in Turkey Point watching a TV screen that was this big, black and white, and watched Neil Armstrong putting his foot on the moon.
Yeah.
And we were, at this point in our lives, we were supposed to be living like the Jetsons.
Right. Exactly. Our flying cars, our Rosies.
Yeah, where's Rosie?
He's over here.
Mark.
She vacuums the room when I tell her to.
Before we move forward, Mark, I got something to show you that you may already possess or that you may not know about. Now, I'm fortunate that I possess this, but the reason I possess it is because the great Jackson Roykirk brought it to my attention.
Ooh.
But this has an anomaly in it which threw me for a loop. So this is the Power Records.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Okay. And has 2 full stories.
Yes.
One, they fought a barbarian type character, which is why I ended up getting it. But inside, Mark, and this is what really threw me for a loop. Where is she? I'm going to show you something that's going to just throw you completely off. and
It's
it
real
makes
white.
no sense when you see it. So this character right here, do you see the blonde?
Yep.
That's Uhura.
Yeah.
So that had to be an early prototype before they actually got
yeah.
her to play the character.
That's got all kinds of wrong all over it.
Or it was
Yeah,
required
when
to be
you're reading
published
it
in certain
and you
areas.
know the characters like you do, and you get to that, you're like, "What? That's not
What?
Uhura."
That's not Uhura.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the date on that is what's the date on that? 67? 60? No,
76.
76.
That's well after.
So it's
It
10
shows
years after.
Yeah.
So
It's
was it a coloring mistake? Was it an intentional mistake? It was
that
a
I don't know.
I'm
I bet
sure,
D. Jackson
unfortunately,
Roykirk could tell us.
I'm sure, unfortunately, it was intentional.
Oh, here, Joe. Yes. So I do have a video of it. If you want to ever listen to it, I recorded it. I
okay.
did that in my Conan record ones.
See, I do have that one, Gary, but it's up on the wall. It's over there.
But
But I have not cracked the book because I haven't cracked it because it's really in nice shape.
this one
But I
is,
did
and I've
not
only
know.
played it once.
I didn't know that that's what they did on the inside. Now you're kind of making me wanting to go and open it and take a look. Because I wonder if it's in every one or is it just in some?
I don't know, but the stories are well acted. Like they're fun. Like the actors did a decent job on them,
Cool.
and it's not overly expensive. You can get yourself another copy for like $20.
Yeah,
and
they're
crack
not,
yours.
and it makes no sense to me why they're not expensive. They should be very expensive. I mean, look at the subject material.
Right. I mean, I also have this because
See, I'm still looking for that, and those are more expensive.
and I have the comic too, the regular comic form of it.
Now you're just being mean. Those are hard to find. Those are hard to find.
eBay had it, so I was lucky.
No, that's not bad.
But I mean, I didn't even know about that one. Again, the Jackson Roykirk put them all on CDs and sent them to me as an A-OK, and then I
that's cool.
found them from there.
Nice. Very
And
cool.
he made his own little jacket. So I just had to show you that Star Trek because I didn't know if you knew about it.
I didn't know that was on the inside of it.
Yeah. Number 8. Yeah, it'll throw you because you're like, no, that's not right.
What number are we on?
8.
Are we on 8?
I trust Gary. He's usually pretty good at tracking.
Yeah, I got it all written down.
Okay.
We got Scott picking on me. Whose show and tell is it anyway, Gary?
Okay. So this next one is when I started really getting more into the she is just I had a chance to talk with her at length, Matt. She was a delight. She's just an amazing lady. Anyway, so when I got collecting a bit more earnestly when I was a little bit older, so we're up to 72 now. There was one series that I just went, well, this is perfect because I was buying off the spinner rack, right? And to try to keep reoccurring, like, okay, I got to get there in time to get the next issue.
Right.
Wasn't always doable. And we did not, I know this will shock some people, we didn't have eBay back then just to go, or a local
internet.
comic book shop to go fill in a hole
Right.
of a series. You just had to try to find them. So this one series I really quite enjoyed because it introduced me to so many other characters, and it was one of my favorite characters was the Constant, pretty well, almost in every issue but a few. And so this is not number 1, but it's just to give you an idea because it's in the right time ago. So
Love Marvel Team Up.
Marvel Team Up. I love that series. I have the entire run of this, multiple copies of some of them. Just because you were introduced to so many characters that you would have never been introduced to before.
Yeah.
Like, Captain Britain, and just, like it goes on and on and on. And it was up to 150 issues, I think. The last one.
And the annuals.
Yeah. And
that's one of the few series that I've read every issue of.
Yeah. I've read every issue of that series. I've got the whole run plus, and it's just one of those that was really, you could go, okay, this is a pretty cool book and a cool character. What other books are those characters in? Have they got their own book and all that kind of stuff? Like, it's just one of those series that was a fun series to collect. And
and Marvel 2-in-1, right? They were just both
Marvel
great.
2-in-1 and Marvel Premier is another series that I have all
Marvel
of them.
Premier.
And that's where they were testing out the water, right?
Yeah, and you got great characters that you never saw again, like Moonstalker.
Yep. Yeah, and Camelot
the spinner rack
3000 and stuff like that. So it was just a great book. So we're at 9, right?
We are at 9, sir.
Okay, so we're up to 76. I love horror and I love science fiction. And I love Jerry Anderson. Now, some people go, who's Jerry Anderson? If you know who the Thunderbirds are, or Captain Scarlet, or Supercar, or Joe 90, or any of those old puppet TV shows, you know who he was. So he had a series on TV that was called UFO. It was only on for a couple of years, and it was about the Earth fighting off aliens who are coming to abduct people for their body parts. It lasted a little bit while, and then he wrote a sequel to it, because on UFO they had a moon base, and his sequel was this.
Space 1999.
Oh.
So this is the magazine. So there's a comic book put out, Space 1999.
There is.
The magazine came out first. So this is the issue number 1 of Space 1999. Martin Landau, Barbara Bain, and Barry Morse. This is not Barbara Bain and Martin Landau's first appearance on a comic book cover, because they were in the original Mission Impossible, and they were on those Dell books. Was a incredibly fun show. I just really liked it, and I have the whole run. There's only 8 issues of this one, I think, and there's only 7 issues of the comic book. But great stories. It was fun TV, and you can't see them, but I've got like the Space 1999 lunch pail and bubblegum cards, and the Dinky Eagles are behind my head, and the models and that kind of stuff. I just loved it. So it was you can watch all of Space 1999
They're also on Tubi.
Yeah, on Tubi. Yeah, it's cool. It was a fun show. I liked it a lot. The sad thing is they only did 2 seasons, and in the second season they got rid of Barry Morse. He just disappeared and they never talked about him again.
Wow.
It was like, oh, okay.
I know so much imaginative science fiction, like one of the old shows I like, because I'm a big fan of the movie, and in the book is Logan's Run.
Yep. Yeah,
love Logan's Run, and then the TV show was pretty decent too, and that
the
only
TV show was decent. The movie was
went
good.
14 episodes.
Yep, and the comic
the
series,
obviously
the first appearance of Thanos.
What?
First appearance of Thanos is in that comic book.
Issue number 6.
Yep. Yeah, it's right there.
His first solo story.
Yeah, his first solo story. Yeah, it was.
And the comics were a fun read.
The comics were a fun read. The movie was Farrah Fawcett, her first big screen appearance as the.
She was outshined by Jenny Agutter all day.
Well, yeah, but it was Farrah Fawcett. Come on.
I would take Jenny Agutter over Farrah Fawcett.
Oh well, we could have a debate about that for a long time.
I mean, we can agree there's no wrong choice.
No, there is no wrong choice.
Right. You get the.
Jenny was
you're good.
Jenny was a far more accomplished actor. I'll say that.
Yeah, she's a little bit deeper in the talent pool.
Anyway, so my last book that I have of my 10 is 1979 is this one. It's just, I had this book when this came out. This was, for me, living in Canada, it was like, this was pretty cool. So this is X-Men, first appearance of Alpha Flight, our very first Canadian superhero team that Marvel did, and it was very cool, groundbreaking. I mean, Wolverine was Canadian, and I loved that. And then we got these guys and amazing characters, and they got their own series, but this was their first appearance. And back in those days, like John Byrne and Chris Claremont, just they knocked it out of the park when they were writing these stories, and it was very cool. So 1979, I was 17, and we had our own superhero team finally that Marvel recognized, which I thought was pretty cool. So I've got all of Alpha Flight. I've got, anytime they've appeared, I've got Wolverine. I got all of his stuff because what an iconic character. So
right, and they were in Marvel 2-in-1 as well.
Yep. So that's my 10.
Who was your favorite member of Alpha Flight? Mine was Mara.
Well, mine, I love Puck.
Oh, Puck's great.
I mean, his name was Puck, and I was like, okay, we're talking Canadian. It was hockey, and he was Puck.
I know. See, no matter all these shows I'm doing, it's playoff time. I got hockey scores next to me the whole time.
Okay, please don't tell me that you were rooting for Tampa Bay.
No, I'm a Devils fan. I'm rooting for the Devils.
Because last night's game that Toronto pulled it out, I still don't know how they did it, but I was quite impressed.
No,
anyway,
I want the Leafs to win.
So do I.
It's only been a couple, like almost a century now, but
yeah. Well, Bill
Barocco?
Yeah, I remember when they won. Dave Keon was on the team and the captain, and I was 5. So it's been a while since and I just got to show that so you're happy.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice.
I currently have 2 of those here. One of them's in a 9.4, and I got another one out being graded right now, which is a 9.8 candidate.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Yes, go Devils. Thank you, Dave.
There you go, Dave. So now you want me to tell a story?
Yes, number 11 with a story.
Tell us a story. Tell us a story.
Yeah, but I've been telling stories all the way along. I think I'm almost over my time. So, anyways, this is a very interesting book, and the story is about the book, and the time that it was around it. So, back in World War II, okay. Canada, as you guys know, like Canada joined fighting the Nazis in 1939 with the Commonwealth before the United States did. And one of the things that was put into place was called the War Exchange Conservation Act. And so basically what that was it restricted non-essential goods from coming across the border from the United States. And I know this will shock you, but the politicians and the law enforcement decided that comic books were not essential. Like, bastards. What is that? So that act got put in place, and all comic books from the United States stopped coming into Canada.
For how long?
It was from 40. It was repealed in 1947 or 46. Sorry. So, like 5 years, for the duration of the war and just a little bit after. So like those iconic books that you see from those years of the All Winners and all of that and Punching Hitler, none of those came across the border to be sold. They would come across the border in someone's, luggage. Like the folks down in Windsor would sneak across to Detroit and buy comics if they wanted, but it was contraband. If you weren't
so
supposed
crazy.
So they were trying to prevent money from leaving the country that wasn't associated to the war, for the war effort. So no American books. So because of that, and there was a desire for comic books, some Canadian publishing houses started pumping out comic books in Vancouver and in Toronto. And what they're known, what we call them, or back then even, he wasn't even a wink in Margaret's eye when this happened, Dave. Anyway, or Doug, sorry. When they came out, they had color covers, but they were all black and white because you were saving on material, right? And they're very thin paper, like 4 color, like very limited colors on the covers. And the other thing, and they were called Canadian white. That's what a Canadian white is. So the other drawback to them is it was all published during the war. So everything was recycled. If it wasn't recycled, it was shipped overseas to the soldiers to read.
Oh.
So they're hard to find. There were up to 60 titles of different titles, and that's where we got the superheroes like Johnny Canuck, Nelvana of the Northern Lights. That's another one that you could do, Stephanie. That is she's pretty unique. Anyway, so this book is called Captain Hobby Comics, and it came out trying to stay alive in February 1947. They only came out with one issue because the act was repealed, and DC Books came flooding up here and all the other American publications, and basically all the houses pretty much shut down.
Wow.
Or they started printing on licensed American titles. So we lost, they call this the golden age of Canadian comics. So I've got a couple others. This one is it's so bizarre. So this one, it teaches you how to make an airplane. It teaches you how all kinds of things. It's a very cool story. It's a very cool book. This is in Go Collect. They have it listed, but they have no information about it.
Right.
This one was done by the Export Publishing Company out of Toronto. It's just one of those. The paper is very thin. It's very. It's just one of those very cool stories, and featuring Captain Hobby and an exciting hobby story. Old coins tell strange tales. Now, if that doesn't grab you and want you to open this comic book,
see why they didn't continue on much.
Okay, I'm not saying this is one of the best stories, but it's a really unique one.
It's said that the golden age of Canadian comics was also the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, the Copper Age, the Modern Age, and the end of
age. So, yep. So that's my storybook.
That's
awesome,
cool, though.
That's a nice piece of history.
Well, it's kind of like when I tell my American friends, like, yeah, you guys, we couldn't buy any of your stuff because it was not only it was money going out that they didn't want, but also some of the stuff coming back in was propaganda, according to some people. That because especially United States hadn't entered World War II yet, so like it is what it is. So anyway, I have my last one now. Okay, Barry, am I good?
Your
spec pick.
Okay, so
Spider Boy.
No, it's a little older than that, but not much. Anyway, so you guys have seen, I'm sure you've seen, this is not the spec book. This is just leading to the story of why it's a spec book. You guys have seen this, right?
Yes.
Okay. Image Comics. It's related back to Geiger. Great story. Not the first time they've done this with a character, right? Like this is Junkyard Joe, and they couldn't really copy what had been done before. So he's in people's minds, and now we know that these guys, right?
Oh, Weird War. Okay.
Yeah.
First appearance of the Creature Commandos, which Gunn has said is going to have feature and possibly be a live action. So this isn't the spec book. People are already specking on this. What the spec book might be, because Sean Gunn, he's the actor who's doing the voice of this character.
Right.
Okay. So this is GI Robot Jake, his very first appearance in comics.
Oh, what issue?
This is Weird War 101.
Huh.
And nobody's talking about it yet. But I think if Creature Commandos gets legs and the cartoon does well, and then they move it into live action, I think that I think people would be wise, if they're wanting a spec, is to start looking at the first appearances of the characters who are in the Creatures Commandos. Because they're out there, but they're really not well known. So
and we all know James Gunn likes the odd characters.
Yep, and there's some pretty odd characters he's putting in Creatures Commandos, and this is one of those books that I think you probably could go online and find.
And a fantastic cover too. Who did that cover, Mark?
This cover that's a good question. I'm not sure. Oh wait, if I could see it.
I love it. My Buddy the Robot.
I love that My Buddy doll. Do you guys remember that My Buddy doll? That like creepy,
Yeah,
like
Oh,
my
yeah.
buddy, my
house-sized
buddy,
doll.
My Buddy.
Oh,
yeah, my buddy and
My
kid
Buddy.
sister.
Oh, Andrew Giordano. Good. Giordano. Giordano did the cover for this.
Oh,
Huh. One I'm not familiar with.
Well, there. See, that is just.
throwing it up there, Giordano.
So anyway, that's what I think. I think that these
And-
books
and
for that
Andrew, he
team
says.
is probably it might move up that chart of unknown books, and if depends on how it fares, but they seem to be tying spec books to the movies and the TV shows. Well, that's not seem, they do. So, and I think there we go. Pencils and Giordano inks. So,
and Weird War had some great covers.
Weird War is a great series, and I have a lot of Weird War. Just some excellent stories, excellent storytelling, excellent covers. Sometimes putting it right on the edge of stuff, and it was.
Oh, Dick Giordano. Yeah, I know him. Okay.
Yeah.
I misheard it wrong. Sorry.
Oh well, I brutalized his name, so sorry about that.
Okay.
I apologize to him and his family for saying his name that way.
Yeah, because he was one of those guys. He was doing everything back then. Like,
Anyway, that's all I got.
that's all.
Mark.
He never even got to the 80s. That's
I
phenomenal.
didn't even get to the 80s.
He's saving that for his second
He gets
appearance.
this century. Jesus Christ.
I didn't even, like there's so many very cool, like I love so many different artists. Like I could do an entire show just on Alex Ross.
Oh, sure.
Just like I have got so much of his stuff. I just love his work. I could do a show about Neil Adams. I could, like it just like there's so many. I could do a show about characters. It's just that's kind of what speaks to me and what I collect, and it's like that's why I love this hobby. Like there's so many different things that you can find and get excited about it, and
exactly.
and,
There's Jackson.
Sometimes, sometimes
This
it's the
is the
story,
22
sometimes
too.
it's the art, sometimes
Yep,
it's
absolutely. It's when you see a certain storyteller, you want to see how it's spun. You like it just goes on and on,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's stories that make you really they're sending a message. Like some of those stories back in the 60s and the 70s. We were talking about this on on Joe's show. They were trying to get messages out, and just I love it. I have a lot of fun. I bring it up in my classes I teach at college and university sometimes if it's applicable, and because it's all kinds of stuff that you can read.
It's like you were talking about earlier too. They take you like some of these books, like I'm surrounded by my Bronze Age, right? I crack it open, I'm instantly transported.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I mean, Rob will tell you, the smell hits you.
Yep.
The
I can't
newsprints
speak to
there,
Bronze Age as much though, but
right? I will
Yeah, I've
never
been
like
looking over your
anything-
shoulder, Rob. There's some very nice books over
it
here.
goes up higher, it gets older.
When
But
you
the problem is I've realized my Bronze Age selection is really finite. I got a fair amount of gold and some good chunks of silver and stuff, but my bronze for some reason that era just doesn't represent well in my collection. I'm gonna have to fix that somehow, I guess.
Well,
It's only money.
yeah, it's just money.
I mean, it represents. I guess it should represent somewhat well. There's lots of Batman and Spider-Man, but that's about the extent of it.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sure you can pay your gas bills with comics. I'm sure that's a thing.
yeah. Oh, you can.
The nice thing about working,
You can.
working from home is I don't have a gas bill.
Yeah.
Now, Stephanie, we're here to promote books and reading, not the poo-poo.
Not get rid of them. So the nice thing about like if you're into the Bronze Age horror, like that's starting to get really kind of harder to find. But
Stephanie's going to start the
all
next
kinds of-
ban in Canada on books.
What's that?
Says Stephanie's going to start the next ban on books in Canada.
Oh no! Don't make
I
me.
will never do that. That's
Don't
not
make me.
that's not my
Yeah.
style at all.
Don't make me come down there.
And I don't know. And when you sat down with the books, right? You were just in for like a good 20-minute story.
Oh, you know what? In some of the books I was looking at, like you could hear the music from the show. suddenly pop into your head. You could
and just a snapshot of the times with the advertisements or even the gimmicky stuff they were selling in those books. It's just fun. The X-ray glasses, all the little bullshit things they had in them.
Oh yeah, like this the submarine made out of cardboard that you don't leave outside or get wet.
Right.
I love how they call everything zit cream instead of like acne cream.
Oh yeah, there's.
All I know is I wanted to get Charles Atlas big. Man.
Yep, kicking sand in the face and all that stuff. Like just the advertisements in some of these older books alone are hysterical. Like you could talk about those.
Baby Ruth cookies, baby.
Yep.
Or I used to like in the Bronze Age ones too, like the snack cake ads for like Drake's Cakes and stuff. And that DC and Marvel had, it would like 1 page story.
1 page story. Yep.
Something silly.
I like the cringy ones where you go back and you get a nice ad with O.J. Simpson on it, talking to kids about getting some boots or something. You know,
Brother Joe was giving you a great compliment, Mark.
Oh, wow! Thank you. I'm pretty sure he's talking about you folks.
Oh, he's talking about you. But no, that was fantastic. And like I said, dude, you didn't have to stress because you can come on multiple times to show as much as you want.
Well, you should be very careful with what you are saying on a live broadcast. But that's the joy of the show. It really is, Mark. Having guys like you on and getting all. Look, you and I were talking about it before anyone else arrived. We like the history that is attached to people with their books. Well, I do have some history. I've been around long enough to have history. But it is, you know what? It's a hobby that is not to me or an onerous hobby. It is like you can disappear into a story. You can disappear looking for art. You can disappear into characters. You can, and it's like I've got those books that I showed you about, like the Invisible Men. Like you go, how come I don't know about this artist? And you start to do more research and you realize some of the nonsense that went on back in the day and all that kind of stuff. Right. It's when you read what they were trying to do with Seduction of the Innocent, and I get what they were trying to do, I think it was misplaced. But you got to let people read. You got to use this genre to get messages out, to make people at least have conversations and talk and be aware of what's going on around them. And we've been doing that with comic books since they started with pulp books. So, I mean, comics back in England were, broadsheets up on the pubs, and they were political satire.
Right. And it's always killed me that comics always have to fight for respect, right? Because if it's just literature, it's loved, no matter what kind of literature it is. If it's art, it's loved.
Yep.
But you put the two together, and all of a sudden, it's taboo.
Mm-hmm. And
makes no sense.
It is no sense. So it's people like you, Gary, that let us come on and talk about this stuff and get on a soapbox electronically and now forevermore for people to hear me ramble on about stuff. And I appreciate letting me be on. And the three of you, madam, you were very gracious. I was waiting for you to say something, but I think I bored the socks out of you so bad that you didn't want to. You felt sorry for me.
I don't want to step on your toes because I know you're telling your stories and stuff. So I just wanted to,
Gary kept putting her in timeout.
Yeah, Gary put her in timeout. But hopefully people found that interesting, and hopefully people saw some books they haven't seen before or just were happy to see again. And there's lots more.
Oh, and I know the crowd wants you back, so in a couple months we'll schedule you again.
I would be very honored if you decide to have me back. Thank you. This has been fun. Hopefully it was for everyone else in the chat.
Absolutely.
A fantastic time with incredible books, and not one of those have we seen on this show before.
That's awesome.
We saw that one Batman book. We've seen that with Rob's channel a few times. Slab.
Yep. Well,
I think that's such a classic book. Every time you see it, you're just like, wow.
Yeah, it is. It's
my channel, Gary, don't count for your show.
No, I'm saying like that's like
show than yours.
No, I know that. I'm just saying that's one of those classics that our shows have had as a crossover book.
Sure.
Because that cover's just so iconic.
Yeah, it's just the art, the whole composure, like that. It's See, this is where you should jump in, Stephanie, because you're the artist that could just,
I need reference though. I need reference.
well, we'll talk later. I'll send you a picture of it, and you do
And
an expose.
I'm a
Stephanie's
visual
comic,
person, I need to see it.
yeah, and her comic book artist experience has been growing lately.
Yeah, and that's good. Looking forward to Saturday's edition.
Like
Yay.
now she's discovering Frank Frazetta, right? And
Yep.
that's a whole rabbit hole right there.
Oh,
That
Frank
we can get her
Frazetta,
started
Buck
on
Rogers.
Pretty
HRG.
impressive. Pretty impressive. I gotta
But
say.
you got to go for the good stuff, madam. You got to go for the Frank Frazetta, Buck Rogers.
Pretty
Oh,
impressive.
yes.
yeah, Buck Rogers, Frank Frazetta. Yep.
Amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
I was telling her earlier
It's really
because I
cheap
sent
to
her a
accumulate.
message
Go ahead and collect it all.
Yep.
that his art was so impactful that it literally saved genres when they started putting it on pulp novels.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, and the like that Space 1999 cover. The reason I didn't really get into it too much, but that was Doug Graydon Marrow. So Gray Marrow, if you're familiar with his artwork at all, they chose him for this book because they needed to get through the noise of Frazetta and Boris and all those guys on the newsstand. So they chose Gray Marrow, and it's really interesting because he was involved, a co-creator of Man Thing.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of people get it confused and call him Gary Marrow. It's not. His name was Graydon Marrow. So
That's
it goes
because
like
everybody
Gray.
loves a Gary Mark. That's
I
Graydon.
know. I know. But yeah, it was those artists, that other comic book artists were trying to figure out, how do we get our books so they can stand beside Frazetta and Boris and all these guys so people will pick up our books.
Graydon is such a cool name, actually.
I know. Graydon's a great name.
Yeah. It's
And
cool.
Anyway.
it's hard too when you had people out there like Boris Vallejo too, who was incredible.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
I mean, he's still putting out incredible. Him and Julie Bell, amazing.
Yep.
And
a
what was
great
it?
card set.
Ken Kelly.
And you got to think, okay, I'm a publisher. I got to figure out how to get my book to pop beside all these other books so people will pick me up.
Right. And once those guys started doing covers, it was game over. Like nothing else compared to it at that time. It was amazing.
Well, and that's what drew me as a kid to Conan, was the covers. Like,
they were so savage, especially the one with them coming over that table where the woman's being sacrificed.
Yep. Like, just anyway.
Yeah.
This was only supposed to be an hour long, Gary, and
but yes. All right. So we're gonna get to what's coming up for everybody. So Rob, we'll lead with you, sir. What's coming up for you?
Oh, Thursday on my channel there'll be a CBCS unboxing. I got some modern books that were signed, so some verified signature stuff that's come back. And then Saturday on Only Slabs, it's looking like the original scheduled guest isn't going to make it because he hasn't responded to any of our repeated pings. So our fill-in guest will be Shop for Comics, the creator of the Shopverse. He'll be filling in, assuming everything continues as is. And then Monday, there will be another incredible mail call.
All right. Coming up for me this Thursday, we have C. Bizzle on in the hot seat, a really super nice dude. We had him on the 10-1 a few weeks ago. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Really likable guy, really nice guy. So I can't wait to talk more about him. Then, returning for his fourth time on the channel next Tuesday, we have author Jason Douglas, the author of Parallel, which was just a book that is phenomenal. And he's going to be on talking about Jane American, his new book, which has ties to his family's history with his grandmother and stuff. So it's going to be a really interesting show. We're going to learn all about that. And absolutely phenomenal. Jason Douglas, if you guys have never watched him on the channel, super likable guy, has fought and beat cancer this year. So kudos to Jason Douglas, fighting the hard fight and going through it with a positive attitude. And this Saturday, Stephanie and I I'll let her tell it. Stephanie, what's coming up?
I think we're going to be doing an installment with Joe Jesco. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Okay, I did. Yay! With his Conan portfolio, and we're going to be reviewing it and critiquing it, otherwise known as just me dissecting like everything.
See, Stephanie gets to spend a week with the art. So at first she likes it, and then she goes from liking it to nitpicking it. Because what he said, like if you spend enough time with something, you do find things with it you don't like.
Isn't this true of everything?
Yes. Yeah,
Or
Rob
everyone.
spent a lot of time with me.
Yep.
Rob can tell you all the things he doesn't like about me now.
Yeah, look at it. For number one, look at that hippie. You need to get a haircut, Gary.
I know, right?
Gary,
I
number
can almost
2, you
grab a
never
hold of it.
cosplay. You're not a good sport.
I will. I don't mind cosplaying. I already told you. I don't have cosplay stuff because I've never done it.
Sport.
And no, I don't have a red wig.
Love it.
And Mark, is anything coming up for you, sir? Any other appearances?
Not that I know of, and I don't do a channel. I just sit back and enjoy this hobby, and am always thrilled with amazing people that I've met through this kind of medium and doing shows like this and meeting incredible people. Got to meet Rob for the first time ever. Pleasure to meet you. I loved looking over your shoulder, and
Wish the glare wasn't so bad, but
yeah, well, there's some lovely books up on that
That's
wall.
right, DVH.
Anyway,
All under here, buddy. Jackson Roykirk's giving us a good compliment, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you.
And let me see. And Matt Woods. Yes. I do not own a loincloth, Matt. I went there and they said some Matt Woods guy bought them all. And Mark will be. And see, poor Mark Andrews is still he got his eyes hurt because Joe kept throwing money at me, so I took my shirt off on the show.
yes.
And now Mark can't escape it, and he hasn't slept yet.
And now you don't feel good about yourself anymore, Gary.
Oh, Gary feels good. It's okay. I talked him down before we went live. And Joe, if you'd like me on your show, Joe, I would be more than happy to be, because it's a lot of fun talking with you folks. So appreciate that invite.
And next time we'll try to have Joe. We invited Joe tonight, but it was his wife's birthday, so he couldn't come on to be an extra co-host as well.
Happy birthday, Joe's wife.
So his wife's birthday, and he's still in the chat there. Is he chatting underneath the table at the restaurant, or
Probably.
Joe's like, that was conceivable. Right? Yeah, Joe's going to be in trouble because there's a live transcript of him being in the chat.
Yep.
But guys, this is the part where I say thank you to everybody. Mark, thank you for being our guest tonight. I appreciate your time and you coming on the channel, showing the great books you showed and giving us a piece of your history. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Rob, always thank you, sir. I appreciate you. One of the best co-anchors out there. Or if Rob's hosting, you get to be his co-anchor, which is great too. And that's why he's got the keys to the kingdom. He's the other guy that has the keys to my kingdom is Rob. Stephanie, thank you again. It's been a pleasure having you as co-host on the shows.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on for Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews, I consider you a friend, and I was thrilled to be on here for you. So I could have asked you a bunch of really roasty questions.
Yes,
but
you could have. But you didn't.
I didn't. And I want you to remember that.
Oh,
We can have him on for one of those one night, Steph.
Mark Andrews roast.
We'll have him, Matt Woods, and Joe on.
He'll forget what time that starts at.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to thank the audience. We had a great audience tonight. We had a full house, a lot of great chat going on, and a lot of support. Thank you guys for coming out to support us. Everybody's links are in the description below. Whether they're on YouTube or Instagram, please go follow them up if you're not already. If you're catching this on the rewind, we certainly appreciate you guys. And until next time, keep it casual.